So let's get to the algorithm for MPC, and the various component that we talked about in MPC is the model, which includes definition of a state. Next is multi-step prediction. Third is to set up the optimization problem itself, which consists of two parts. Objective plus constraints. For the optimization itself, I will mostly talk about quadratic programming, but I will also give a more broader perspective, and then state update. Okay. Yeah. So this is where we are, and then we will also talk about the overall picture. Okay. We are at time k. With our UK having something like this, and okay, YK we are having something like this, and let us say this was our set point. Okay. So what we want to do is to determine, okay, m future input moves. Okay, why does it go up to k plus m minus 1? Because k plus 1, k plus 2, k plus 3 and so on, because uk is also an input that you need to determine. Okay. And we are going to use our model to predict the future behavior up to p steps in future. Okay. So the future behavior will be predicted for yk plus 1, yk plus 2, yk plus 3 up to yk plus p. Okay. Why not yk? Because yk has already happened, but why uk? Because uk is just to be determined. It is like this, we are sitting at k, yk has just happened at k minus delta, okay, and uk is going to be implemented at k plus delta. So we have this extremely small, I mean as narrow as we possibly can window where we take the measurements, do whatever updates that we want to do, determine the future move, implement the one future move. Okay. So that is the idea. Okay. So we have reached at this point, at this stage we have all the information that is required in the form of our state definition. That is the first item. Okay. Now this state definition, based on the state definition, if it is a state space model, you have the state xk, okay, that has somehow been determined. How that would be updated and determined, we will talk about that in the last step, step number 5. Okay. But let us say that somehow this particular state has been determined in a state space model, okay, or if you are talking about finite step response model, we have our y tilde k which we remind ourselves is y0, sorry, I will write bigger, y0k, y1k up to y n minus 1k. Okay. In general, your x is n dimensional, your y is ny dimensional, your u is nu dimensional. So, your y tilde is ny times n multiplied by 1 dimensional vector. This guy we can call it, let us say, nx by 1 dimensional vector. Okay. We are not saying that these are seesaw. As a matter of fact, we are saying that in general these are multi input, multi output systems that we are talking about. Okay. So, this is our state definition. So, what do we mean by we want to predict the future? We want to predict the values of y k plus 1, y k plus 2, so on up to okay. How does all of these respond to changes in uk plus 1 up to uk plus m minus 1? That is what we want to check. Okay. We will use a notation where we are going to say yk plus 1 at k and again we will put a notation tilde on top. Okay. Notations can be a little bit confusing. So, yeah, good question. This was exactly what I was going to talk about. Okay. So, how do we split up y k plus I? We split up y k plus I as effect of the past plus right. This is the general definition. Effect of everything that we know up to past plus the predicted effect of uk plus predicted effect of uk plus 1 plus predicted effect of uk plus 2 right up to uk plus I minus 1, not uk plus I, but uk plus I minus 1, right. That is the behavior that we are going to expect. Okay. This one comes from the state. Okay. How does this come from the state? This is nothing but yik. What was yik? Yik was nothing but yk plus I with all the information up to but not including time k. Next we need to find out what is the effect of uk on uk plus I. Okay. If we are going to use finite step response models, the effect is going to be based on the step response coefficient multiplied by delta u's. Okay. So, for step response models, and for state space models, okay. So, let us start with y tilde k plus 1 at k, then we will go to y tilde k plus 2 at k, then you will actually start seeing a pattern emerging. Right. So, whatever we had written on the previous page, we are just writing that over here. Right. What comes over here? S, yes, what S? S1. What comes over here? S2. What comes below? S3. What will come here? See the pattern. Si, right. Okay. If I is less than n, Si is nothing but Si. I is greater than n, Si is equal to Sn, right. Remember when we truncated what we said, it is S1, S2, S3, S4 up to Sn, 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 Sn. As against that, with finite impulse response models, it was H1, H2 up to Hn and then 0, 0, 0. Okay. We are not doing finite impulse response models, we are doing step response models only, but in case you have to ever work with impulse response models, that is the only difference, or that is the primary difference. Okay. Let us look at the next item. Okay. If you have to say the effect of delta u k plus 1, what will come over here? S1. What will come over here? It will be S2. Okay. See, what happens is k plus 2 should be equal to k plus 2, k plus 1 should be equal to k plus 2, that is how this follows. Okay. What is the size of S1? This S1, this guy S1 itself, what is the size? Is it a scalar? Is it a vector? Is it a matrix? Yeah, in general it is ny cross nu. If it is a seesaw system, it is a scalar. If it is a MIMO system, its number of rows will be equal to number of outputs, number of columns will be equal to number of inputs. Okay. And again that is consistent right from day 1, except the first day where I discussed H and S, where I used seesaw just to get you used to it. After that we have basically been talking everything as MIMO itself. Okay. We have never, although sometimes I do not explicitly say, we have never really talked about seesaw. We have always assumed it to be MIMO. Okay. And I have also been careful about pre-multiplying, post-multiplying. You have never seen me write delta u multiplied by S. I have always written S multiplied by delta u. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, and likewise over here it is going to be S1 plus S I minus 2 plus so on, right. So, what is emerging out? This comes from the states. This comes from inputs. Just to recall, our definition of state was y0k, y1k up to yn minus 1k. Okay. The stuff that comes from the memory, we are not using y0k, right. Y0k is already the past when we are beginning to take the decisions. Okay. So, we are not taking that, we are only taking the rest. Okay. So, that part, so let us represent this entire bunch of guys, right, yk plus 1, y tilde k plus 2, y tilde k plus 3 up to y tilde k plus p. Let us represent that as y tilde k p, okay, just for notational simplicity. Maybe I will write one more and then. Sorry, let me remove this tilde because I have already used that tilde to represent our state, right. Yeah, for the state I have already used that tilde. Okay. This capital M is also a shift operator. okay. But I have used a different M notation over here compared to last week. Why? Because in state update what did we do? We got rid of the top ny components, moved everything up by 1, okay, and the last one was repeated. Here it could be different. Let us say n was equal to 40, but p was only 10, p is less than n. Then what is going to happen? You will discard the top one, the remaining 10 you will move them upwards, okay. Rest of the 29 also you will discard. Why? Yes, you can predict 40 steps into the future, you just do not need them, okay. Choice of p is up to you. You had the choice of p, you decided I do not need all of them. Let us say you decide, and usually that is not a recommended practice, but let us say you decide p to be greater than n, okay. Let us say n was 40 but p was 50, then what do? You get rid of the top, the remaining 39 you move upwards. What do you do for remaining 11? Yes, repeat the last item 11 times, right, because what is the assumption of step response? That after n things remain flat, okay. That is why we will repeat our y hat, okay. Last point I only mentioned for sake of completeness, okay. It will only, usually it is only used if, for example, there is one extremely fast part of the system and one extremely slow part of the system, then only for the slow part it gets used. But usually n, if you take large enough, in your assignment problem I took it small because I wanted you to do it by hand, okay, but otherwise you take n to be approximately 25 to 50, that range, okay. Your p value is usually lesser than n. Why would you predict after the effect of your inputs have all vanished, right? So you won't really predict that long into the future, okay, except for infinite horizon case, which we will come to in week number 7, okay. But as far as we are concerned, most of the time for most practical applications, upward shift basically means discarding the top and moving the remaining p into ny elements upwards, okay. Why and why? Because it is MIMO in general, okay. So all of them move upwards by 1, okay. So that is this M operator, and that is its distinction of this M operator than the M operator that we talked about last week, okay. Plus the effect of inputs, okay, and we are going to define the future inputs as another vector let us start populating this, okay. So this guy that you see over here, okay, will have p number of items repeating. The number of rows is going to be p multiplied by ny, because each of that repeating items is a ny by nu matrix, okay, and it will have, so it will have p number of rows and m number of columns, again not m but m into nu number of columns. Why? Because S itself is going to be ny by nu, okay. So what I would want you to do the next say 5 minutes, I will take a pause for the next 5 minutes, is look at what we have written over here, look at that and populate the matrix that I have left blank, Yeah, so please go ahead and do that. Okay, and trick to working with vectors and matrices is almost treat them as scalars, do your thing, and then look at whether or not they are commutative under multiplication and addition subtraction. Okay, that 90% of the cases works. Okay, there would be exceptions, and one of the exceptions I talked about 2 lectures back, but in 90% of the cases treat almost as if S1, S2, S3 are scalars, treat almost as if delta u k plus 1 are scalars, set up that matrix and then recheck whether all your dimensions work. Okay, so this is what you should have gotten. Yeah. Again, I have written it in this form so that you can do just one-to-one matching, right. So, as you can see, your S1, S2, S3 up to SP form one column, all of that are going to multiply with your delta u. Then 0 comes for your first row S1, S2 up to SP minus 1, then 0, 0, S1, S2 up to SP minus 2, so on and so forth. Okay. And this is the way you will construct that matrix. S2 is the step response values at time 2, not a shifted version of S1. So, for example, if we were to talk about a seesaw system, and again when I am showing the pictorial representation I talk about seesaw, but in general let's talk about me more. Okay. So, let us say we have y1, y2, u1, u2. Let us say you give a unit step change in u1. Okay. Because of unit step change in u1, your y1 responds like this, let us say your y2 responds like this. Then you do one more experiment. Now you give a unit step change in u2. When you give a unit step change in u2, your y1 responds like this, and let us say your y2 responds like this due to change in u2. Okay. So, what is going to be S1? Okay. S1 is going to be this value, this value, this value, and this value. So, S1 is going to be star, empty circle, filled circle, empty box. What is going to be S2? asterisk, diamond, star, and what else? Let us say filled box. Your S2, oh sorry, this should have been a cross, asterisk, diamond, star, and a filled box. What will S3 be? Same way, it will be this, 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 this. What will S4 be? Same thing, right? So, what does S1, S2, S3, S4 mean? S1 is that 2 by 2 box, followed by another 2 by 2 box, followed by one more 2 by 2 box, so on and so forth. What does this 0 mean? This 0 means 0, 0, 0, 0, because that is also an ny by nu box. Okay. So, you have a 0, 0, 0, 0 box, below that you have a x filled circle, empty square box, below that asterisk, star, diamond and filled square box, so on and so forth. It is exactly that, it is absolutely that. If you look at one step prediction used a slightly different m and just this guy. Now you are doing multi-step prediction. Absolutely, I mean absolutely, there is no real difference at all. But one step means delta uk is affecting k plus 1, but delta uk plus 1 is affecting k plus 2 also, so that also needs to be taken care of. But k plus 1 does not affect k plus 1, therefore you have that 0, 0 over here. Okay. So, there is, it is the exact same S, right. So, if you have made that step response matrix S1 up to Sn, okay, this squiggly S or this big S, the first pencil, if you want to call it that, is exactly your S1 to Sn, but you do not need all of n, you just need the first p of them. So, you just cut that pencil off. What is the next pencil? It is this pencil, move here, move one down, move here, move one down, move here, move one down, move here, move one down. And when I say 1, it is 1 in a matrix sense, ny by nu sense. So, you are moving this pencil, nu elements to the left, ny elements down, nu elements left, ny elements down. So, if we go back, we have defined a model and we have talked about multi-step prediction. Next thing that we are going to talk about is objective and constraints. We will do that in tomorrow's lecture.